Have you ever felt an overwhelming urge to escape when someone pushes your limits? That feeling, the one that makes you want to vanish, is a natural reaction to having your boundaries crossed. It's your internal alarm system saying something's not right. We all have invisible lines around us, boundaries that define where we end and others begin. These boundaries are crucial for our emotional well-being, self-respect, and even our physical safety. When these lines are ignored or trampled upon, it can trigger a primal instinct to flee. This urge to run is not a sign of weakness, it's a self-preservation mechanism. Our minds and bodies are hardwired to avoid situations that feel unsafe or disrespectful. Understanding why we feel this way is the first step to setting healthier boundaries and reclaiming our personal space. In this exploration, we'll delve into the psychology behind boundary violations, why running away can feel so tempting, and most importantly, how to establish clear, healthy boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. Imagine a circle around you, an invisible shield that defines your personal space, your values, and your limits. This is your boundary, and it acts as a buffer zone between you and the world. Boundaries are not about building walls or pushing people away. They are about creating healthy limits for interactions. They are the rules we set for how others can treat us, physically, emotionally, and mentally. They are essential for maintaining self-respect, reducing stress, and fostering healthy relationships. Just like a fence around a property, boundaries provide a sense of security and control. They let others know what behavior is acceptable and what is not. When boundaries are respected, we feel safe, respected, and empowered. However, when someone crosses a boundary, it's like they've stepped onto our property without permission. It can leave us feeling violated, angry, or even unsafe, triggering a cascade of emotional and physical reactions. Boundaries come in many forms and can be as unique as the individuals who set them. Some are obvious, like physical boundaries, others are more subtle, such as emotional boundaries. Here are a few common types of boundaries. Physical, protecting your space and comfort. Emotional, safeguarding your feelings. Intellectual, respecting your thoughts and opinions. Time, managing your time and energy. Recognizing these boundaries is the first step. Boundary violations can happen in any relationship, with family, friends, romantic partners, or even colleagues. They can be subtle and unintentional or blatant and disrespectful. Here are a few examples of boundary crossings. A friend constantly calls you to vent about their problems, leaving you emotionally exhausted. A family member pressures you to share personal information that you're not comfortable disclosing. A coworker takes credit for your ideas or constantly interrupts you during meetings. A romantic partner dismisses your feelings or pressures you into physical intimacy when you're not ready. These are just a few examples, and the specific scenarios can vary greatly. However, the common thread is that someone is disregarding your limits and making you feel uncomfortable, disrespected, or unsafe. It's important to remember that even small boundary crossings can have a cumulative effect, chipping away at your self-esteem and emotional well-being over time. That's why it's crucial to address them early on, no matter how insignificant they may seem. Section 5. The emotional fallout, why running feels right. When someone crosses our boundaries, it triggers a cascade of emotions. We might feel angry, frustrated, betrayed, or even violated. This emotional cocktail is often accompanied by a surge of adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones, preparing our bodies for a fight or flight response. In these moments of emotional overwhelm, our brains are hardwired to protect us from perceived threats. And sometimes the quickest and seemingly easiest way to escape the discomfort is to flee, literally or figuratively. We might physically remove ourselves from the situation, withdraw emotionally, or shut down the conversation entirely. This urge to run is not a sign of weakness, it's a self-preservation instinct. Our bodies are telling us to get out of a situation that feels unsafe or disrespectful. However, while running away might provide temporary relief, it doesn't address the root of the problem, the boundary violation itself. That's why it's essential to develop healthier coping mechanisms for dealing with boundary crossings, strategies that allow us to assert our needs, protect our emotional well-being, and maintain healthy relationships. Section 6. Fight, flight, or freeze. Our brains on boundary violation. Our brains are wired for survival. When someone crosses a boundary, it can trigger our primal fight, flight, or freeze response, much like encountering a physical threat. This is because our brains haven't quite caught up with the complexities of modern life. A disrespectful comment can trigger the same physiological response as a saber-toothed tiger, at least momentarily. In the case of boundary crossings, fight. You might become confrontational, arguing or pushing back against the person who crossed the line. Flight. You feel the urge to escape the situation, either physically leaving or emotionally withdrawing from the conversation. Freeze. You might feel stuck, unable to speak up or assert yourself, leaving you feeling powerless and unheard. Which response you experience depends on your personality, past experiences, and the specific situation. However, understanding this instinctive reaction is crucial. It helps us recognize that feeling the need to run is a natural, physiological response to feeling unsafe or disrespected. The key is to develop healthier ways of responding to these triggers, moving beyond the primal instincts and into assertive communication and self-advocacy. Section 7. Reclaiming your space: steps to setting healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries is about communicating your needs and limits clearly and respectfully. It's about teaching others how to treat you in a way that feels safe and comfortable. Here are some practical steps for setting healthy boundaries. Identify your limits and reflect on past experiences. Start small and practice in comfortable situations. Be clear and direct using I statements. Be assertive, not aggressive, and strive for balance. Remember, setting boundaries is a process, not an event. Section 8. The art of saying no. It's okay to decline. One of the most powerful words in the English language when it comes to setting boundaries is no. It's a simple word, but it can be incredibly difficult to say, especially if you're used to people-pleasing or avoiding conflict. Here are some tips for saying no effectively. Keep it simple. You don't need to over-explain or justify your decision. A simple "no thank you" or "I'm not able to do that right now" is sufficient. Be direct. Avoid wishy-washy language like "maybe" or "I'll try." This can lead to misunderstandings and make it seem like you're open to negotiation when you're not. Practice makes perfect. Saying no can feel awkward at first, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Start with small requests and gradually work your way up to bigger ones. Don't feel guilty. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty or selfish. Your time and energy are precious, and it's okay to prioritize your own needs. Remember, saying no is not about being rude or rejecting the person. It's about honoring your own limits and protecting your well-being. Section 9. Consequences and consistency. Backing up your boundaries. Setting boundaries is only half the battle. The other half is enforcing them. This means being prepared to follow through with consequences when someone repeatedly disrespects your limits. Consequences can range from a verbal reminder to ending the interaction or even the relationship. The key is to choose consequences that feel appropriate for the situation and that you're comfortable enforcing. Here are some examples of consequences. Verbal reminder. I've asked you not to do that. Please respect my boundary. Taking space. I need a break from this conversation. We can talk later when things have calmed down. Ending the interaction. I'm ending this conversation now. Your behavior is unacceptable. Consistency is crucial when enforcing boundaries. If you let someone slide one time, they're more likely to test the limits again in the future. Be firm and consistent in your communication, and don't be afraid to walk away from situations or relationships that consistently disregard your needs. Section 10. Building confidence through boundary setting. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own. However, as you become more assertive in communicating your needs and enforcing your limits, you'll likely notice a significant shift in your confidence and self-respect. When you set boundaries, you're essentially saying, "I matter, my needs matter, my feelings matter." This act of self-validation can be incredibly empowering, leading to increased self-esteem. You start to value yourself and your needs more when you honor your own limits. Reduced stress and resentment. Setting boundaries helps prevent burnout and resentment that can build up when you constantly overextend yourself for others. Healthier relationships. Boundaries are the foundation of healthy relationships, built on mutual respect and understanding. Remember, setting boundaries is not about controlling others, it's about taking control of your own life and well-being. Section 11. Boundaries, your foundation for emotional well-being. Imagine a life where you feel safe to express your needs and empowered to walk away from situations that no longer serve you. This is the transformative power of healthy boundaries. Boundaries create a safe and respectful space for yourself and others to thrive. They protect your emotional energy and reduce stress and anxiety, Boundaries foster healthy, balanced relationships built on mutual respect. Setting boundaries is an act of self-care and self-love.